Science of Winning Podcast, episode number 1. Hello and welcome to the Science of Winning Podcast, your number one source for learning how to win in your sport. Where each week we dive into the minds of championship athletes and coaches to discover how champions think and what they do to achieve athletic success. I am your host, Lyndon Gortney. If you're ready to dominate your position, outsmart your opponents, crush the competition, win more games, and achieve your athletic goals, then I've got a free gift for you. Head on over to sportstrainingsecrets.com, where you can download the first 3 chapters of my book, How to Win in Sports, 10 Proven Principles Marines Use to Win in Battle. Well, welcome to the inaugural episode of Science of Winning Podcast. I want to thank you for joining me. In this episode, we're going to do 4 things. First, we're going to lay the foundation for what this podcast is all about. Second, we're going to show you the incredible vision that we have for you at the Science of Winning Podcast. Third, I want to let you know what to expect for future episodes. And fourth, I want to give you a short introduction to who I am and why I started this podcast. So number 1, what is this podcast all about? This podcast is about one thing: helping you win more games. If you're a competitive athlete or coach, or if you're a parent of a competitive athlete, and by competitive I mean that you play your sport to win, then this podcast is for you. However, if you're a, quote, recreational athlete or one of those parents who puts their kids in leagues where they don't even keep score, well, you may as well turn this off because this is not the podcast you're looking for. I want to start off by telling you a couple of stories. A few years ago, I played on a men's basketball team, and we had a pretty darn good team. But one night we were playing against a team that honestly we were way better than, and yet at halftime we found ourselves basically tied up. I think we were only leading by about 2 points. Well, at the time of this game, I had been working on a research paper for my master's degree that was titled The 10 Principles of Winning. I'd been studying winners, specifically world champions across all major sports, and had discovered 10 principles that were common to all of these world-class athletes, coaches, and teams. So, at halftime, I asked my team if they wanted to try a couple of these principles and see if they could help us win, even though the game was already half over. They were a little bit skeptical at first. I mean, who wouldn't be? Who'd ever heard of these, quote, principles of winning? It just sounded a little bit odd, but they said, hey, heck, let's give it a try. So I laid out the first 3 principles for them, and I got everybody on the same page by telling them how we would apply these principles. The steps were simple, they were easy to remember, and easy to do. I just made sure that everybody knew their role, and then we hit the court for the second half. At the end of the game, when we looked up at the scoreboard, guess what we saw? We hadn't just beat them. We had crushed the other team. We won by 20 points. It was absolutely crazy. And here's the thing. We didn't all of a sudden get faster or grow taller or get stronger. We hadn't even started shooting the ball better. In fact, we didn't hit a single 3-pointer the entire game. The only thing that changed was the decision to learn and apply these 3 principles of winning. The result was a complete domination of our opponent. I just wonder what would have happened had we been using these principles the entire game. I want to tell you another story. At a sports camp in Branson, Missouri, we took a group of 12 to 14-year-old boys and entered them into a one-day flag football tournament against 15 other teams. Now, many of these boys had never played football outside of their backyards. We taught and applied these winning principles with them. The result? They went undefeated and won the entire tournament. Here's another story. A few years ago, we took a men's softball team and had them apply some of the winning principles to see what the outcome would be for their season. The results? They've been league champions 5 out of the last 6 seasons. Now, there are many more stories like this, and I'll be sharing them with you. And we'll get into the details of exactly how we apply these principles. But for now, I just want to show you that these principles work across multiple sports and across multiple age groups. Now, you may be wondering about the word science in our name, Science of Winning. Well, here's the reason for that. In science, we use a 6-step process called the scientific method. It goes like this. First, you observe something. Second, you ask why it is the way it is or why it does what it does. Third, you make a guess about it based on what you observe. So you make a hypothesis. Fourth, you test your guess with experiments. Fifth, you look at the results produced by your test. And sixth, you make a conclusion based on the results. All right, once that process has been completed and the results are in, anyone who wants to get the same results just has to follow the steps of the experiment. You follow the steps, you get the result. You follow the steps, you get the result. We thought, how cool would that be if we applied the scientific method to sports and asked the question, how do people continuously win at sports. So here's what we did. Scientific method. First step, we observed how some athletes, coaches, and teams had won multiple championships. We observed how some coaches always had winning programs. We saw how some athletes were the best in the world and stayed the best for long periods of time. Second step, we asked the question, why are these athletes and coaches able to keep winning time and time again? Third step, we guessed that it was something inside their head, something about the way they thought that made them champions. We saw that champions weren't always the biggest, the fastest, the strongest, the quickest, or most athletic. So, we concluded that it wasn't the physical characteristics that made them champions. If it was purely physical, the champions would always be the biggest, fastest, and strongest athletes. But that wasn't the case. So we watched thousands of hours of video of champions. We noticed about 45 strategies, tactics, and principles that we saw athletes use during the games. We then decided to see which of these were the most effective at producing the result of winning games. Fourth, we tested these 45 strategies, tactics, and principles in highly competitive and moderately competitive environments. Fifth, we looked at the results of our test to see which of the 45 resulted in the most wins. And sixth, the results showed that we had discovered 10 principles that were proven to help athletes win more games. Athletes, coaches, and teams who used these principles won more than anyone else. In fact, every athlete, coach, or team who won championships did so by using these principles. Whether they realized it or not, they all used these principles. So what is the vision we have for you here at the Science of Winning? Well, we want to help athletes and coaches achieve their sports dreams. The first way we want to do this is by making sure every athlete and coach in the whole world learns these principles of winning. The second way we want to help you is by giving you access to the minds of the greatest and most successful athletes and coaches in the world across multiple sports. Now let me ask you this. As an athlete, what is your dream? Is your dream to earn a spot on the team? Maybe to become a starter or become a state champion? To earn a scholarship and play at the college level? To win a national championship? To make it to the pros? To get a huge signing bonus, become an all-star, or win a championship trophy and be a part of history? Whatever your dream is, we want to give you the tools and training to achieve that dream. We also want to help coaches achieve their dreams as well. Coaches, what's your dream? Do you want to get paid to do what you love and earn a full-time position as a coach? Do you want to coach at the high school level? Increase your income by developing a multiple-time state championship program? Do you want to coach at the collegiate level to earn $1 million salary coaching in the NCAA or professional level and become known as the elite professional coach who wins multiple championships and goes down in history as one of these winning coaches? Whatever your dream is, our goal is to empower you with the resources you need to make it happen. So how is the Science of Winning going to help you achieve your goals? And what is the format of this podcast? Well, the Science of Winning podcast is a 3-day-a-week podcast. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning, we will be posting a new episode for you to listen to. Now, in the first 10 episodes, we'll be walking you step by step through the 10 proven principles of winning. After these initial 10 episodes, we will be interviewing athletes and coaches who have won multiple championships to discover how they think and what they do to become champions. I am super excited for the insights we'll uncover from these interviews that you can use to take your game to the next level. Next, we will periodically do mini episodes where we give you one principle, tactic, or strategy that you can use to get you closer to your goals. And finally, we'll do Q&A episodes where we take your sport-specific questions and give you answers to your most pressing questions. So, lastly, who is this Lyndon Gortney guy, and why should I listen to anything he has to say? Well, first and foremost, I am an athlete and a coach just like you. I am very competitive, I love to win, and I love everything about sports. Heck, as a kid, I even wanted to own my own sporting gear store just so I could be around sports equipment. That's how much I loved it. Now, I grew up on a farm out in the country with my 4 brothers. My brothers were all 5 of our names. We got Lars, Lyndon, Lance, Lark, and Luke. Yes, we were the 5 L boys, or the 5 Gortney boys. And we played every sport we could get our hands on. Whenever we had free time, we were shooting hoops, throwing passes, kicking soccer balls, pitching and hitting baseballs, playing roller hockey, hitting golf balls, tossing frisbees, whatever. We did it all. In high school, I was a 5-sport letterman. I played soccer, baseball, basketball, track, and I wrestled. I was a 5-time state champion in 3 different sports, and I was a 3-time all-state athlete in 2 different sports. I earned athletic scholarships in both baseball and soccer, and I also had a full-ride academic scholarship from 2 universities. Now, after 2 years of college, I ended up joining the Marine Corps. Because of my competitive nature, I graduated top of class from every formal school I attended. I got to serve in Fallujah during Operation Iraqi Freedom. When I returned to the States, I got to play for some base teams, and I led 8 different teams to championships and was honored as the 2006 Marine Corps Recruit Depot San Diego Male Athlete of the Year. After my time in the Marines, I returned home and became a commercially rated pilot and flight instructor. But my love for aviation was eclipsed by my love for sports. I decided to go back to school again, so I chose to attend the prestigious United States Sports Academy, where I earned my master's in sports coaching with the emphasis in sports psychology. The focus of my graduate research was on winning. I wanted to know how champions win and keep winning. After that, I started my doctoral program. In 2015, I turned my research on winning into a book titled How to Win at Sports, 10 Proven Principles Marines Use to Win at Battle. While I was in the Marine Corps, I had attended the School of Infantry, where I was the top academic Marine in my entire company. As a student of military strategy from one of the greatest military forces on earth, I began to notice that the principles that great generals and military strategists use to win wars were actually the exact same principles that great coaches and athletes use to win in sports. Combat and competition, sports competition, go hand in hand. The same principles for winning in combat apply to winning in competition. So let me ask you this. If you were in combat and your life was on the line, meaning if you made one mistake, it would cost you your life, wouldn't you do your best to make the best possible decision that gives you the highest chance of coming out alive? Wouldn't you want a proven system that gives you the greatest chance of survival? You see, when Marines go into battle, winning is the only acceptable option. For Marines, winning means survival, and losing means death. Now, this is serious stuff. Because combat is a life and death situation, Marines do everything they can to ensure that they win. They have looked at thousands of years of warfare and developed time-tested, proven principles that give them the greatest chance of winning and the greatest chance of survival. To show this correlation between winning in combat and winning in competition, I chose to showcase how the Marines use these principles to win in battle, and then showed how championship caliber athletes use these same principles to win in competition, and I put it all in my book. Now, I'm not telling you about all these successes in order to brag. The reason I'm telling you this is because I want you to know my background. I want you to see my track record of success. I believe that track records tell a lot about a person. A person who has a history of winning probably knows what they're talking about, and they are most likely going to win again in the future. But I also want you to see something else. I am a 5'8", 180-pound white guy. My parents were both under 5 feet 6 inches tall. I didn't achieve these things because I'm some freak athlete with a hulking frame and out-of-this-world athleticism. No, I achieved these successes because I, at times unknowingly, applied a set of proven principles that produced amazing and real-world results. The great news is that you can use these same principles to achieve amazing success as well. Now, the reason I created this podcast is because I am making it my mission in life to help you reach your full potential, to accomplish all your athletic goals, and to achieve your athletic dreams. During the course of this podcast, I want to always be improving and finding better ways to help you. If you see some ways I can improve this podcast, if there's questions you have, or if there are ways I can serve you and add more value to you, please reach out to me on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com/Science of Winning Podcast. Again, that's facebook.com/Science of Winning Podcast. Or in the search bar of Facebook, just type in Science of Winning Podcast. Now, if you have a sport or a position in your sport that you would like us to break down for you, let us know. Just go to the Facebook website, facebook.com/Science of Winning Podcast, and post your question there, and we'll answer it in the next podcast episode. And for anyone who goes to our Facebook page and makes a post or asks a question, I'll give you a shout out in the next episode. Now, I am super excited to hear about your dreams and to help you achieve them. If you know any athletes, coaches, or parents of athletes that you think would benefit from this podcast, please tell them about us. This is Lyndon Gorney, and you are listening to the Science of Winning podcast. Thank you for allowing me to serve you, and let's get started.